What's up, everyone? This is James Hernandez. How you all doing? And welcome back to one of my movie review videos. And today I'm going to be reviewing a horror movie that is a remake of the classic horror movie franchise from the 80s, and that is Friday the 13th. Now, this Friday the 13th movie is a 2009 remake of the Friday the 13th series, and it's so far the 12th installment of the franchise. The last time we saw Jason Voorhees on the big screen was 2003's Freddy vs. Jason. Now, when it comes to horror remakes, this was the movie that was released during the time where every classic horror movie has to be remade. That's why we got films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Grudge, Black Christmas, and then we got Halloween with Rob Zombie, and then we got this film right here. So usually when it comes to horror remakes, I'm not really too crazy about and not really a huge fan of. But I felt like with this one, I felt like they don't really have a choice because the later Friday sequels gets like a little too silly. Like one is where Jason goes to New York City, which he barely was in New York. The next he was dragged to hell, and then he was went to outer space and becomes a cyborg when he fought someone that looks like Master Chief. And then in 2003, he fought Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street. So this movie actually decided to have Jason Voorhees went back into the roots and have him back to basics of making him scary. So this movie was owned by Paramount Pictures, New Line Cinema, and also the company Platinum Dunes. Now, Platinum Dunes is a company that did like some other horror movies, like they did a remake of this film, and they did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Amityville Horror, and The Hitcher. And they also did the Quiet Place movies as well as The Purge and The Unborn. So let's talk about the story. Now, if you basically watch like every single Friday the 13th movie, you would expect everything from this movie. People go in the woods, they do drugs, they make stupid jokes, and they have sex, and they get all butchered by Jason Voorhees, and that's about it. But in this story, this movie actually centers around the man named Clay, played by Jared Padalecki, as you might know him as in the Supernatural TV show. He is looking for his sister Whitney, who has been captured by Jason Voorhees. Now, why Jason captured Whitney at the beginning of the movie? Well, it's because it's been revealed that Whitney reminded Jason of his mother, which is weird and it doesn't really make any sense because Jason's mother is really not that young, and his mother is actually more grandmotherly, if that makes any sense. It's just like Betsy Palmer's performance as Jason's mother from the first Friday the 13th from 1980. So now we were introduced to the characters after the long pre-title sequence when Jason kills people. Now the characters in this movie, you like them or you hate them. Now in every Friday the 13th movie, you don't really care about any of these characters other than Jason Voorhees. But in the case with this remake, I do have some interest in some of these characters in this movie. Like let's talk about Clay. Now Clay, played by Jared Padalecki, he is the main male protagonist of this movie where all he wants to do is to look for his sister Whitney, who has been captured by Jason, like I said before. And he's not really like looking for trouble or anything. All he wants to do is to search for his sister who has been missing. And I thought his performance was pretty fine for what he is. Like he's just like a nice guy, and he just wants to rescue his sister from Jason, and he's been like searching for her. And when he did rescue her from Jason, we don't really get a lot of screen time with these two because they're siblings, but like you really want them to escape from Jason, and you actually kind of root for them. However, there's one character I'll be getting to in a minute. But let's talk about the three other characters that I want to talk about. Let's talk about Trent. Now, Trent is played by Travis Van Winkle, as you guys might know him as the bully from Transformers. His character in this movie, just like the bully, he is just an unlikable jerk, and he is like one of those characters that you really like want Jason to kill. And I'll be getting into the kills later, but like if you really like look at Travis Van Winkle's character Trent, I know like there's a majority of people that despise his character, but that's like the whole point of this movie, where he is just like he's just an unlikable dirtbag, and he just is like so rude to his friends that you really want Jason just to like butcher him to death. And and it works. I think it works for his character for being like an unlikable jerk. And that's the whole point of like some of these horror movies. It's like these characters were just like unlikable characters that you just like want to root for the killer. But his performance in this movie, like the way like how he just acts like a jerk, is just kind of makes me laugh. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about Trent. There's nothing much I can say about him, but later on. But now let's move on to the character Jenna. Jenna is played by Danielle Penbaker, and she is Trent's girlfriend. And she is one of those characters that was helping Clay to search for his sister. And then you would think that she was going to be like the final girl in this movie, but unfortunately, spoilers by the end. As soon as like Clay and Jenna rescues Whitney from Jason's hideout, and they were about to escape, and then as soon as Jenna was about to escape with Clay, but then Jason's machete impales her, and then she ends up being dead. So basically, Clay couldn't save her, and then he and Whitney had to escape from Jason, otherwise they'll get killed by him. So yeah, I mean, like Jenna, I can't really say a lot about her other than that she is just Trent's girlfriend that doesn't really approve Trent's attitude in the movie for being like rude and disrespectful to Clay. But she actually did manage to help Clay to search for his sister, and I actually really had to give her applause to it. Now let's talk about the character that I think is the real show stealer, and that is Bree, played by Juliana Gill. Now, out of all the characters in this movie, she is the most interesting character. And if you guys have seen my top 20 favorite female characters of all time, I put her very high on my list. I put her on the second spot, and her character is just like really something. Like her main goal throughout the whole movie is to like have party with her friends, but not only that, but she wants to like steal Jenna's boyfriend Trent while Jenna was out there helping Clay to search for Whitney. And she is like such a flirty blonde girl, and I could not even help myself but have like a huge crush on her. And if she was the main final girl in this movie, I think that would have been like really interesting, because Whitney, I'm gonna be talking about her later on, but I really thought Brie is actually the most interesting character in the movie, and I really wish that she becomes like the final girl. But unfortunately, she dies by Jason, which I was like not happy about, because like I know a lot of people say like, oh, the people who are not virgins are the ones that get killed by Jason. But in the case with Friday the 13th, that's not always true, because like Jason kills many people whatever he wants, especially he kills people for his mother to get his revenge. But now let's talk about the Camp Crystal Lake slasher himself, Jason Voorhees. Now, Jason in this movie, he's played by Derek Mayers. And you might be asking, what do I think of Derek Mayers as Jason? Well, I really do think that he is an underrated Jason. If you guys thought that King Hodder from Friday the 13th Part 7 to Jason X was terrifying, just look at Derek Mayers as Jason, and when he kills people, he is a mad monster. And like the way like how he kills people, like he is so brutal, and he's like always so pissed off. Like when he's like going on a rampage, killing all these camp counselors, when he is like on the hunt. And I like that he is like more of like a survivor, and he's like a hunter. Like not only he kills people with his bare hands or his machete, but there was one time where he would shoot someone with a bow and arrow, which kind of reminds me of like one of those Archer characters like Hawkeye or even Green Arrow. And I've never seen Jason did that before in the previous installments of the Friday the 13th franchise. And Derek Mayers is also played one of the original Predators from the 2010 film Predators, and I did not even realize that. And when I researched on like the characters that he plays, I was like, whoa, like that is interesting. Like I did not know that he was from Jason Voorhees to the Predator. That's awesome. So now let's talk about the kills. Now I got a list of kills here on the screenshot on my phone, And so far, according to the movie, there's at least like 14 people that Jason killed. Now, one of my favorite kills in this movie, one has to be Trent's death when he splits up from the group, and then when he bumps into the car, and then he thought Jason was in the car, but then it turns out that it was just a random guy, and then right behind him there was Jason, and then Jason grabbed Trent, and then he's like starts like to impale him like on the back with his machete like this, and then he just like impales Trent on those spears, I think it's called, like one of those like pipe spears, onto his back, on the back of the car when the guy was trying to drive away. And then once he drives away, Trent's body was hanging, and then Jason was standing there. And I'm not gonna lie, that was like one of the best kills that I have ever seen in this movie. The rest of the kills in the film was pretty good as well, but I wouldn't say they were like as creative or as memorable as I thought. I kind of wish that like Jason would actually would do something like a bit more creative with his kills, like show me something that I have never seen before. But I'm not going to complain about the kills because like while I would say that the kills were pretty good for the most part, and I think Trent's death is one of the best, but it's not as memorable as like the deaths from the previous films in the entire franchise, especially in Freddy versus Jason. And the plot is like was all right. Nothing too interesting about the plot. Like I said earlier in this video, that if you watch like every single Friday the 13th, it's usually like teenagers like doing things they're not supposed to do, and they make stupid jokes, and they go to places where they're not supposed to go to, and Jason just like killed him. So because Jason is Jason, and he kills for his mother. Okay, so let's talk about the things that I don't really like, because I know there's a lot of people that did not like this movie, which I understand, and the movie's not perfect, but I'm gonna be getting into the stuff that I really don't like for right now. So let's talk about Whitney for a second. When it comes to the final girls in the Friday the 13th movies, no disrespect to the actress who plays her, but she's really like not the most memorable or the most iconic final girls in the Friday the 13th series. Now, I'm not saying that she's a bad character or anything. Like, I really want her to escape with her brother when Clay rescued her. But throughout the whole movie, she doesn't do anything. Like, she's been like Jason's prisoner throughout the whole entire film. And she just how do I put this? Like, she just like becomes like this girl that Jason let her live just because she reminded Jason of his own mom, which is weird. And I'm like, okay. And then like Jason, Whitney shows Jason the necklace of the girl that looks like her, and that scene I was like, okay, like doesn't really make any sense, but all right. The other thing I really don't like is when they kill off my favorite character, Bree, and her death just makes me go like, "Damn you, Jason! Like, come on, why do you have to like kill off like one of my favorite characters in the movie?" Like, and if she was the final girl, I think that would have made the story very interesting because, like I said, when I talked about her, she is the most interesting character in the entire movie. Out of all the characters, I think she is like the most fun. She is like the real show stealer. She just steals the whole show, and her story is just kind of makes me feel so like what's that word I'm looking for? Like obsessed with this girl. And the fact that Jason killed her off just makes me feel sad. Jason Voorhees, I love you, but when you kill off my crush, that is really unnecessary, bro. But now I'm gonna be talking about the scene that really grabbed my attention. So if you guys don't want to like hear about this, if you guys are too young, then I'm gonna give you guys 5 seconds to back out. So if you guys are too young for this, I'll give you guys 5 seconds. Okay, I guess you guys are still here if you either have seen the movie or you guys are too young. So let's be advised on this. So, about Bree's character and her story of her stealing Trent from Jenna when she helps Clay to find Whitney. Her love scene with Trent, like, I'm not gonna lie here. If you guys thought that Friday the 13th, A New Beginning was gratuitous, this movie has like one of the most gratuitous nudity I have ever seen. Her scene with Trent is just like so over the top, and then it just looks so freaking realistic. Like every time, like when I saw a scene that is coming, that scene between Bree and Trent, like it just makes me feel like I knew a scene was coming like in a heartbeat. And then these two were still going when Jason kills Chewie in the tool shed, and then like when Whitney tries to get their attention, but then like Jason just like grab Whitney away from the love scene between Bree and Trent. And the scene like when Jason grabbed her from the love scene, it feels kind of funny that Jason just like somehow grabbed her, and I was like, is Jason really defending these two and not letting Whitney get like a good look or something? Because this is so weird. I never seen Jason do that, and he never does that in any of the previous installments. But yeah, like that scene alone between Bree and Trent really grabbed my attention, and I think you guys call me crazy, whatever you want. I'm not afraid to say this, but I felt like that's like the most entertaining moment throughout the whole movie, even better than like what Jason has been doing. Now let's talk about the ending. Now the ending for this movie is kind of cheap because it kind of ends with a jump scare that you would think that after when Whitney defeated Jason along with Clay, like Clay and Whitney defeated Jason finally, they just like dumped him in the lake, and then all of a sudden everything was fine, but then Jason just comes out of the water and then he just like grabs Whitney, and then it cuts to the end credits. And I'm like, really? That's how the movie ends? I mean, not to say the ending was bad or anything, but I was just kind of expecting something else. Like, always like give us like a really good ending, not just have like a horror movie like ends with a cheap jump scare. Because I know a lot of people said jump scares are always scary, but that's not always the case. But yeah, like the I felt like the ending was kind of bad, but the rest of the movie I think was pretty entertaining. So my final thoughts on the Friday the 13th remake. It was better than what most people would say. I wouldn't say it was like great, but it was entertaining to see Jason Voorhees, becoming like a beast. And I think Derek Mayers is the most underrated Jason Voorhees actor out of all the Jason actors. And I really do hope that we'll get to see him again in the future Friday the 13th movie. However, I heard there's a Friday the 13th prequel TV series in the works called Crystal Lake that's going to be on Peacock. So I'm pretty curious about it because Hollywood would like to bring back those like horror icon characters back to the big screen, like we got with Michael Myers, then they got with Ghostface, and they got with Chucky when he got his own TV series, then we got with Candyman. So we'll see what happens in the future. But overall, the remake, not as bad as everyone said it is. Not a great sequel. I mean, well, not a great film to the series because I know it's a remake, and usually horror remakes are not always that good. But I still do think the movie is really entertaining. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Friday the 13th, 2009 a 8.5 out of 10. I still think it's entertaining. It's not as good as some other installments of the Friday the 13th series. I think part 6, Jason Lives, is my most favorite one. This would have to be my third favorite or my fourth favorite. My second favorite has to be Freddy versus Jason. But overall, I really like this remake. Not a great remake, not a great movie, but it was good to see Jason Voorhees being scary again. You know, like I would rather watch this over like the sequels like Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason Goes to Hell, because those films were pretty terrible. But what did you guys think of my review for Friday the 13th, 2009? Have you seen this remake? Do you think it's a good remake, or do you think it's a waste of time? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys got to say about this. Also, if you're a huge Friday the 13th fan, what is your most and least favorite Friday the 13th movie? I would love to hear you guys. I would love to hear what you guys got to say. So, so feel free to subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and turn on the notifications when I make future videos. And then stay tuned for the next horror movie I'm going to review is a 2003 remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So be prepared for that one. And I'm still going to be continuing doing some more horror movie review videos. So hope you guys enjoy my review for the 2009 remake of Friday the 13th. I'll see you guys next time, along with Jason Voorhees and Bree, played by Juliana Gill. Take care, everyone.